Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we're talking all about the rookie debut patch autographs that are going nuts in 2024 Topps Chrome update. The Elly De La Cruz was hit earlier today, just a few hours ago. So we'll talk about that. The Paul Skeens is getting huge attention. We'll discuss what we think these cards are going to go for, if the hobby is shifting, and much more around them. So in this episode, you have me, Scott, we have Phil, we have Jeff, and we have Ty. Chris is abroad right now. He is actually across the ocean. Where is he at, Jeff?
I believe he's in Rome right now. So what? He's opening some packs around Rome.
Nice. Is he making content for live and doing that? Because that's a tax write-off.
Oh, good. No, I should tell him. I've just seen pictures. We're gonna try to do a live stream at some point, but the time difference is a little rough.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then you can write off the entire trip. Sorry, go ahead, Ty.
I was just say opening stadium club in the stadium in the Coliseum.
Dude, that's actually a pretty good idea. If we were bigger, like big streamers, that's a great idea. All right, well, let's jump into this. Very first thing, that Elly De La Cruz was pulled by Hobby Legends, and we've seen some pretty high Elly De La Cruz sales. Like a Superfractor Bowman Chrome first autograph went for over $300,000, which is kind of crazy. And his Bowman Chrome Superfractor rookie autographs with the rookie logo went for how much, Ty? 160? Is that right?
116.5.
116, still a ton of money for that card. Yeah. So I have to imagine this card, this one that was just pulled, is going to blow that Superfractor out of the water. Do you guys agree with that statement? I think it's easily
Cardboard going consensus.
I say 5. Yeah, everybody agree? So
it's going to beat the Topps Chrome Superfractor.
The Bowman Chrome Superfractor that sold, isn't that what sold?
No, the Topps Chrome Superfractor.
That was the Topps Chrome Superfractor. So
sold
that
for 116.5.
What are we feeling, Phil?
Debut patch is an easy one.
Easy peasy, right? I think it's challenging right now. It's challenging the Bowman Chrome first for a lot of people. I did a poll on my Instagram channel, and I had like almost 700 responses. I think it was 650 people responded. 68% said they'd prefer the rookie debut patch autograph over the Bowman Chrome Superfractor autograph. We're seeing a shift, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite enough information to say a shift is happening. That's a very specific card, but I voted for sure for the MLB debut patch, even though I prefer in general Bowman Chrome autos, just because it's such a specific card. It's part of their uniform from that day when they made their debut with the on-card auto. It is a true one of one. So I don't know if it's enough information to extrapolate that RPAs are the next big thing, but the debut patch is a great idea by Fanatics, and I feel like it is the card.
What do you think, Phil?
I think a few years after the cardboard world crumbled, or it didn't completely crumble, but single prices did after the pandemic, starting in like second half of 2021, depending on the segment. Some stuff lasted till 2022 before it started going down. We saw obviously like a 3-year slide in prices. And I think a lot of people during that era started to favor rare, unique cards like one-of-ones to preserve value, so there weren't like comps, and for other reasons too. A lot of benefits, of course, in having a one-of-one card that truly nobody else can own. But I think now a lot of people are also going back to this idea of getting off the beaten path of buying just another refractor, just another color of the rainbow. And the Superfractor Bowman Chrome auto, yeah, it's a one-of-one, but its pose is on a lot of other cards, and it looks a lot like a lot of other Bowman Chrome autographs, although it is probably the nicest looking one, the most distinguished. And I think this is driving a lot of people to Dynasty. So the idea of like, this word might not make sense to a lot of people, and I might be using it in the wrong context, but homogeneous being a card that stands out by itself and doesn't share similar traits with other cards. I think people are favoring homogeneous cards over the heterogeneous cards. Even though a purple and a blue and a red and an orange Bowman Chrome auto are all different, they're all kind of the same too.
Isn't it the opposite, Phil? Wouldn't it be the heterogeneous cards that people are looking for that distinguish themselves from the homogeny?
Yes, in both directions. the heterogeneity of the cards is valuable, but within what Phil's describing and all the parallels, it's in many ways homogeneous, which is not what people necessarily want. So both are technically true.
I might have got that flipped.
That's what you get for getting too fancy, Phil.
You were going to win word of the day, but I think you might have lost it.
Should have just stuck with Homo sapien.
But with that being said, I do think that Dynasty is going to be benefited by these sales. People are going to be looking at the RPAs. We're now saying officially, well, not officially, right? You said, Jeff, this is a small sample size. It was 700 people, which are all very big cardboard enthusiasts, but it's easier to sell the idea of the debut patch autograph justifying that price than it is to sell the idea of the first Bowman Chrome. It's like there's something there, right?
Absolutely.
So it's easier that way. But if we are now saying that this card is better than the Bowman Chrome for Superfractor, why can't other rookie patch autographs also be better? They're game worn. It's like the same idea. We just don't know what game it is, but it's still from the rookie season. Still awesome. So I do think that we might see a shift. And like Phil mentioned, all the Bowman Chrome colors, they're all the same card, just different colors. That's cool. And for the players before this RPA movement that might be happening, it's always going to be cool, but we may see it start to be not as big of a gap for newer players for good reason. Ty predicted this, didn't you, Ty?
I did. You guys know where I stand on the RPA space in baseball. I said it. I made a whole video about it. I think it's the biggest opportunity maybe in all of sports cards and all of cards, maybe just reading the tea leaves, seeing people coming over. We all know that breaking is a big space. Somebody just hit that Elly in a break, and people who are whales in breaking, they like the thrill of the chase. They can afford to take losses. They spend big money, and not everybody who hits the biggest cards isn't necessarily in that boat, but there are a lot of people who spend big time dollars and they chase and they chase, and maybe somehow long-term they come out ahead or break even or whatever, but they just enjoy it. It's their form of entertainment, and maybe at a scale that's no different than any one of the, four of us buying a $200 or $300 or $500 box and just saying, I'm probably going to get crushed, but let's roll the dice. So they're just doing it on a different scale. Those people who do that today in basketball and in football, those communities, those spaces, they value and they prioritize RPAs, specifically in a couple of, high-end products, NT and Flawless in particular. So when those people come over and when we're in the product cycle throughout the year with Topps and those high-end sets aren't coming out, I guarantee this year that some of those people, for example, got into Topps Dynasty Soccer. Some of them. How many of them? I don't know.
Well, F1 was a big too, Ty. F1 was around. F1 is all.
Yes, great point. F1's been around. Yep, they've had F1, and people were chasing Max Verstappen. So they're going to want to get in on this action, and I think that Topps is pointing toward Dynasty. I know we've discussed it in the past, like which set is going to be the set. I think the fact that it's a one-card rip, that doing case breaks is very fast. It's exciting, exhilarating. All that stuff lends itself well to people who love the thrill of the chase coming over. And then people who tend to be just high-end collectors in this space for the top athletes like that piece of game-used memorabilia, specifically game-used, which is why Flawless, tends to command a premium in recent years over NT. People started to wise up to that. So there's just a lot of things sort of coalescing into that space. And then maybe unrelated, but kind of related, in terms of wax prices, if this is sort of like a leading indicator of what's to come too, I think there's some overlap here, and probably a lot of our audience doesn't want to hear this because I know the four of us have been talking with Chris about how rising prices has sort of priced us out. I was listening to the video you guys did on Bowman Draft, and Jeff, how you said you're not going to buy a box now because it's just gotten too expensive. Well, we saw Topps Chrome go up this year in price. We saw Stadium Club go up in price. Everything in baseball has been rising. And unfortunately, for those who like to rip it, I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Why do I say that? Because Topps Chrome basketball, unlicensed Topps Chrome basketball, because of chasing Wemby autos, came out at like $600 a box this year. And we know that that product was not designed well. It was actually designed really poorly. Composite football, also unlicensed with CJ Stroud autos. That product came out and it was like, I don't know, in the 400s, I believe. Maybe it might have been more than that at the beginning. I think it's down in the 400s now. So those products in those sports, because people who buy Panini are accustomed now in sort of a deranged way to $600 to $1,200 boxes for stuff like Select, Optic, and Prism, are now going to come over into Topps, and they're going to pay all this big money. And I think it's just going to bring a current with it, a current of people who maybe really aren't dabbling historically in Topps products or in baseball, but who want to be in on the action. It might not even be their preferred sport, but they just like to gamble. They like to be in on it. I think all of that leads to this type of stuff happening. So the last thing I'll say is
One,
I talked about Ohtani and his Dynasty RPA 1/1. That card sold in October of 2023 for $24,000. And then the same card, the same exact card, sold again, graded that this time a BGS 9 Auto 10 for $33,000 in April of this year. I think if that card went to market today, it's worth well over that. Well over that. Like definitely worth the fees and whatever you're going to pay.
Let's ask Phil about that.
Capital gains tax. So, yeah, I think that Ohtani potentially today is $100,000 card, maybe more.
And it could be a lot higher soon, right?
Yeah,
I
I think it's going to keep chunking up, and I think these debut patches will lift everything else associated with it. So
one thing you mentioned, Ty, that's interesting, right? We're going to have all the licensing change, and when that happens, the difference, right? Jeff, you even had a hypothesis. Forgive me. About these cards when you first started collecting baseball cards a couple years back. You're like, it hasn't happened yet, so I can't imagine it happening. Everybody who's not a baseball collector, you want to know what they're seeing right now as they're about to move over is this rookie debut patch autograph. That is all they're seeing. So they're thinking RPAs are a bigger deal in this space than they.
But let me correct you there. I didn't say that I couldn't see it happening.
No, I said you could see it happening.
Yeah, and I think the biggest factor there that makes it more likely to happen, which Ty's been pointing out, is the fact that Topps is taking over. So they're gonna be forced to cross over companies. It seemed like the crossover just hasn't been there the way I thought it would be in like 2018, 2019. But now, like Ty said, they're going to be forced to. Everybody's going to be a Topps consumer. But I have a question for Phil and Ty specifically about Dynasty. Part of my worry is that with all the CT scanning stuff, it is a one card rip, but that makes it also really easy for CT scanners to pick up what those cards are. So I have a little bit of worry there. I feel like Topps and Fanatics, if Dynasty is going to be the product going forward, which you make a lot of good points for it being, that they're really going to have to get that issue figured out before it can be that.
I thought there would be a problem. I mean, you guys know, I got very passionate about that topic, maybe more passionate about that than anything else, that it impacts wax and everything long term. And I think in many ways it does. Sealed product, opened product is a different story, and the card is the card after the fact, no matter what. I think no matter whether the boxes were scanned or not scanned, people still ultimately want the chase in any given product on a given year. The one thing that makes me question right now the sanity of the market, or maybe it's just a question of ignorance and awareness, is the fact that the Topps Mercury Wembanyama boxes are still holding strong at like $9K a box right now. And I think there were a lot of rumors out there that many of these boxes are being scanned. They probably are. I think they really are probably being scanned. So it hasn't negatively impacted the box prices yet. They're still holding at basically where they released. I don't know. Long term is a different story. Sealed is a different story, but the ultimate chases out of these products, I still think are on a rocket ship potentially.
Maybe it has affected the value of sealed with Mercury, and prices would be at 13, 14 if not for that. But also, Fair point. I've heard that there could be a long waiting list, a backlog of stuff to be scanned that prevents the stuff being turned around now from likely being scanned.
Could be.
But yeah, that is a big point, Jeff. I mean, even though the two are disconnected more than they should be, the sealed component and the end consumer of the single, maybe more people opening it should have a desire to open or to own the stuff that comes out of it, and that's something probably we can talk about in another video. Maybe that gets released soon, but I think it would benefit Fanatics to have some more integrity in that whole process, even though a lot of this high-end stuff is, if not sold direct, then it's sold directly to a breaker that breaks on Fanatics Live app, where there would be some sort of trust that, hey, well, this isn't directly from Topps because we're selling it, but we got this directly from Topps, and here are the receipts. I don't know how long it'll be for them to implement something like that. This is a busy time of year. Hopefully by like next year, we start to see that on the high-end products. And next year could mean Dynasty, because Dynasty usually comes out around the January timeframe anyway.
Can I ask you a question? Mercury, are we concerned that Topps is going to adopt that as the high-end basketball set and it won't be Dynasty?
No.
Because if that happens, then our whole hypothesis that we discussed is kind of not out the window, but not as strong as it could have been.
I actually speculated on our Cards on the Table show on SCI that Topps would have been better off releasing those Wemby cards into a Dynasty set for basketball this year that would have maybe been unlicensed, but maybe would have had a Shaq auto and a David Robinson auto and whatever, these other autos, but a one card, rip with maybe even fewer total RPAs, that it might have been a better thing for them. I think they made a crap ton of money on Mercury. There's no doubt about that. They made a ton of money, and maybe they'll keep doing it. I really hope they don't in many ways, in spite of how vocal I've been in support of it for this particular use case for Wemby. But I don't think it's a threat to Dynasty at all, personally.
Okay. And they also shot themselves in the foot by making a Victor Wembanyama Dynasty card in baseball products this year. So that exists. They're very rare, but that hurts. I will say that they would have looked a lot better being unlicensed like this, because you can, with NBA players, you have like a headshot like this, blur it out. You can barely see the Rockies logo here.
Yeah, true.
It would look really good versus the Mercury that look really dumb.
Are these all yours, Scott?
I thought Mercury looked great. Personally, I thought it looked really good.
I mean, just like having a big, when he's further back and you can see a washed out jersey. You could have kind of got rid of all of that here, in my opinion.
That's true. Yeah.
No, so Jeff, these are actual cards. I made actually a video on Dynasty that's releasing on Thursday on whether I think it's good or bad. I just wanted to have a highlight of what these cards look like.
That's a beautiful spread right there.
Like, look at these things. This is actually mine in the middle. Proud of that one, my Larry Walker. Yeah. But like, we have the World Baseball Classic. We have amazing RPAs. You actually just saw Phil. I don't know if you announced it. Phil picked up a Dynasty card. We should talk about that, Phil, and why you did so. But just to give you an idea, they're good looking. They can be awesome cards. So, Phil, tell us about your Dynasty pickup.
Yeah. With Mercury, I think it was a way for it was almost like opportunism from Fanatics. Like, okay, well, we can't create licensed cards of him, but we can do 6,000 autographs, put them in a product. Let's meet the demand before the season starts, when the Wemby hype is at its peak, and maybe he gets injured. In this way, we can still capitalize off this product versus waiting for the regular release schedule, Dynasty, etc. But yeah, so the Ohtani card is exactly what I was just talking about. The fact that this card is just so cool. It's cool to own. I like it. I plan on owning it for 10 years.
This is what Phil bought, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. And with more and more of my decisions, I'm going out longer term. Like, if I get stuck with this, am I going to be okay owning it? What's a card that I'd be less likely to sell? What's a card where I think there's like a strong long-term thesis that could be undervalued, right? What's a card that is different than any other card that exists of Ohtani? Yeah, there's, green Bowman Chrome autos of him, high graded with solid autographs, but like, what would keep me from trying to flip that card in 3 to 6 months if I got a slightly higher offer, maybe for like 10, 20%. And this is exactly what I was talking about. And there's another card I picked up that's also my Instagram. That's a 1-of-1, a little bit different, but I think buying cards that are illiquid can be the best move right now. Mm-hmm. And it's the best way to avoid, and you might not be able to avoid it entirely, but the cannibalization that's going to occur from the dilution, from all the excess print runs and products and confusion. Just go for the coolest card.
It's scary though, Phil, when you were talking about it before, sometimes you're going to run into cases where you're paying way above what comps might be, because these cards are hard to comp because they're all individual. They're so specific. They're numbered slightly different, or the image is slightly different, the patch is slightly different. So it is a little bit of a scary realm to go into, and you really have to consider those things, right?
Yes, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I mean, these decisions, they can lead to people overpaying or underpaying, because a lot of people have similar fears. They're resistant to buying something when they don't know how to appraise it. This is a card that clearly was the highest ever, based on it being numbered to 5 from this set. But then if you look at some features that distinguish it from other cards of the 110 or so Dynasty cards that he had, it's got the hitting pose, which only a few of his Dynasty cards have that. It's numbered to 5. It's numbered 1 of 5. It's got a solid autograph, a pretty good grade. And of course, the patch is the biggest thing, which separates it from probably 75% of the patches. It's just superior, just clearly. So it is difficult, and you could end up overpaying, at least if you buy it in auction, unless there's some shilling, which could always happen. for sure, you at least know that there was somebody right below you. In my case, I had 3 people that reached out to me afterwards saying, "Hey, if you sell that, just let me know." Or would I be able to trade for that, Phil? Like, so there's some demand there.
That was
it's probably
Chris.
a pretty good buy.
I
There's
asked
the 3 of us on the screen right now.
Did we all ask? 'Cause I asked.
No, well, one person's reflected on the screen here. And if you know people that are in the Dynasty market, or in this case, it could be any sort of like game use patch card, like people that are more familiar with the market, like ask for opinions, ask for advice, have some people that you trust. If you trust them, don't just listen to people, or take unsolicited feedback from people that aren't credible. But
don't want to say we're not credible, but if you don't agree with us, don't buy these cards if you don't like them. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough, as we're even excited about them.
Yeah.
We're excited about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So don't buy
and sometimes we're excited about stuff that 6, 12, 18 months later we're less excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens to everybody. That happens to literally every collector. At some point something loses its luster for one reason or another, and you're like, so definitely don't dabble in something that you're not also passionate about.
I'm going to share one thing. So you've seen this before, but this is a card I purchased recently for the same thought process and same, thought exercise around, could this be an important card for Aaron Judge? Unfortunately, the World Series didn't end the way I hoped it would in regards to how it went. But with this particular card, it says only game use, because in Dynasty this year, they were from the All-Star game, only game use logo man autograph. So it's not a Dynasty, but I thought it was great. But it's the same idea of, I really do feel like it's moving up in the hobby. I ran a poll actually today, a different poll, talking about, do you think RPAs are gaining steam in the hobby? And over 70% of people said yes.
Oh, I didn't see that one. I would have voted on that too.
I would like to see the results option. So it took away, but I redid the math, and it was like 75% said yes, 25% said no. So people are also feeling it. And so just make sure you're educated before you spend big money, because they're expensive cards. So
yeah, just a few more things here. So last year, of course, we had the Jordan Walker and Anthony Volpe bounties, which at the time were set at higher prices than what market values would decide that they were at. If this is truly based on true demand, true people's desire to own these cards, those bounties, which are set by DA Card World, didn't really reflect the reality of the supply and demand situation. And if you look at other MLB debut patches, most of those sales that were real sales, they went for less than the 1/1 Bowman Chrome Auto Superfractor. This year, where I think it's different, clearly, like, we still could be in a bubble. The sealed product has been exploding. Topps Chrome Update, hobby boxes, I've seen sales at $330. We were talking about whether $150 was a good pre-sale price not too long ago on this channel. But it looks like this time around, we're seeing some real bounties from real people that really want to own the card, not from institutions,
right? Like an end
collector, paying institutions.
We are seeing one institution.
Yeah, the Pirates. Clearly, there's some advantage if more and more people buy Topps Chrome Update in order to chase this card, because there's the profitability that they get a share in that from the leagues, get that a share from Fanatics. So that isn't completely like an unbiased amount of money. But Jackson Holiday, I've seen people go public saying they'll pay $100K for it. I've seen somebody say that they have a bounty for Sedane Rafaela. I've seen some other bounties. A lot of these are from the breaking companies just to incentivize folks to buy into more breaks. But this time it feels a little bit different. And if these start to like establish themselves as being ahead of Bowman Chrome Auto, the Dynasty and all this other stuff, certain unique cards, not everything, but it presents a serious threat to Bowman Chrome Auto, and this could be the real flippening. And we've talked about this before. It might have been you, Ty, but like to a casual collector, or maybe it was you, Jeff, when we talked about these debut patches a long time ago, when these first came out, it's a lot more understandable to why the 1/1 MLB debut patch auto card has value versus the Bowman Chrome Auto.
It's so easy to explain.
Yeah, the legacy, it's legacy versus everything else.
Right.
And you might argue that this card's stupid, the patch is ugly and whatever. But to me, it's a cooler card.
Yeah.
And that means something.
I agree. Okay. Any other thoughts around this topic? Are we feeling good to wrap this one up?
I don't know, but all this talk about specific bounties has me thinking I should make a Cheerio bounty, maybe a Spitballin Cards Cheerio bounty. What can we get up to, guys? We pool our money, maybe
Phil just-
$200-$300.
Phil needs
Let's
to
do it.
sell that Otani he just bought, and that'll get us at least a little bit.
Yeah. Does this complicate our tax filing, Scott, if we start buying cards together?
I don't think we need to report it. It'll be fine.
Bounty.
This is all just for theory.
This is paid in PayPal, friends, and family. No taxes needed. That's what I always hear.
Yeah, I think
Not true, by the way.
to reiterate Phil's point, the accessibility for the idea of the rookie debut patch is so far superior to what a prospect card or the first prospect card, which is what the Bowman Chrome first auto is it can't be understated. So I think that's really resonating, and things like the Pirates get people talking, not even in the hobby. They're asking about, well, what do I got to buy to have a chance at this? What do I have to buy to potentially pull this lottery ticket? So I think that it is so easy to explain why this card's important, what it reflects, and I think that's going to have value.
It's
You
all
guys are
over
not
the-
going to believe this. Did you know this was up for auction right now?
It's been on auction. It's
The
been,
one you were just talking about,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's up for auction with no bids, but it's at 100K.
It's at 1 hour left, and 100K is the number. That's really I did not know this was up here. I just was typing in to see what was ending and
See, and
I was
that's
gonna try to
cool,
go
but at the
promo
same
buy.
time, I like Phil's patch better than that patch.
I agree.
yeah, I do too.
I will say,
really
sorry, Ty, there was another Dynasty one of one that had the Angels logo. It was really cool looking. That was on eBay for $150,000, and it was taken down when he hit the 50-50 home run. I think that one probably sold outside of eBay, and it was a lot better looking than that. Even like it was literally the halo. It was so cool looking.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit offline last time, and I know this isn't a Dynasty episode, but what Dynasty has going for it is like the strong, smaller group of collectors. It has to be a small group because they only make so many Dynasty cards. There's not enough to go around. They really care about these cards. And it seems silly. There's Bowman Chrome groups where people flip Bowman Chrome autos and people hold Bowman Chrome autos for long periods of time. I mean, I'm one of them, but in the Dynasty group, you can tell they really love the cards. They appreciate them as true collectibles. With Dynasty, you don't really see these a whole lot at shows. You don't see these being fire sold. There's like two things with supply. There's like the supply that was printed, but also what's available for sale. With Dynasty, you don't really see a whole lot of auctions. Especially the cool patches. They usually get bought and held, and that's a sign of what I believe is like a healthy collectible. And that's been shown with their resale values over the last 3 years. Like they've been closing the gap on Bowman Chrome autos. They've been outperforming Bowman Chrome autos on a relative basis over the last, I would say, like at least 2.5 years. And that's the type of growth you want. And of course, we see there was a Holland. Erling, the soccer
Erling
player
Haaland.
from Finland, Norway, whatever, the tall white dude that's jacked. There's been like sales of that guy for over 10K, right? So why is baseball being left behind?
And those are mostly stickers, Ty, aren't they? Most of the soccer Dynasty stickers.
No, the Dynasty Soccer is on card.
Oh, really?
Which is incredibly rare, which is why the price tag
true.
is so high. You really rarely ever. The only other product that I'm aware of that I believe was all on card autos was Panini Eminence, and that's like a one-off release. It's not an annual thing. It takes a long time because the soccer players are distributed all over the world to get on card autographs. And that product is actually 2022 Dynasty Soccer, and it came out this year, if that tells you anything. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Couple notes. We're already starting to see baseball move with Dynasty. Phil already mentioned it, but we saw some big Bobby Witt Jr. sales. I know the one of his moved recently. There's 9 one-of-ones for those that don't know. The way Dynasty, I'm going to actually show you my screen to explain this because it is confusing if you're new to it. But instead of having out of 99 RPAs, they basically do out of 99 in this way. So here you can see the different images. These are all different images, and they have out of 10, out of 5, and one-of-ones of each of these images. So like here are a one-of-one here of this image and a one-of-one of this image, but this one's out of 5. And you know what I'm saying? That's how this operates and works. I'm pretty sure one of the Bobby Witt Juniors sold for a decent chunk, just barely. But we also saw Aaron Judge, his out of 5 just sold for $15,000, and an out of 10 just sold for $10,000, and a Juan Soto out of 10 just sold for $12,500. So they're starting to be
yeah. I owned one of those Judge RPAs, so I know how much that's gone up. Mine was numbered out of 10. It was a pretty good patch, good grade, and I sold that the beginning of 2023 for a profit, which was around $3,000, a little less. So that's up 3x. Remember, 2022 is the year where he hit 62,
I think,
62
right?
home runs. So it's not like his stuff wasn't hot between, end of 2022. His Bowman Chrome Auto stuff isn't up 3x since that time frame.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, as a non-Dynasty collector, that was a great image that you put up, Scott. Can you put it up again? I wish there'd be a little bit of a difference in some of those photos. It's a lot of just headshots. I saw one of him holding the bat, and that would be really cool if they differentiated him a little bit more. It's like just how much shadow is on their face and where he's turning.
So I agree. The earlier ones. So let me see if I can actually show this to you real quick.
I like the one in the top right where he's got the bat.
This one. So here's action shots. Here's the jumbo patch. I don't want to give away the farm on this video because I want you to watch it, of course. But here's what they looked like before. Like these are the Judge that Phil was mentioning. This is what the Judge look like. They are action shots. At least one of them is, right? They're a little bit more unique.
Well, at least they're different, yeah. But when you have 9 cards of the same player and they're not different, yeah, I love the way that those 3 are differentiated. Now, if you have 9 of the same ones, I would like to see some change in that.
One interesting thing, Michael Harris only has 1 Dynasty card, so he only has 16 total. You can buy the 1 of 1 on eBay for $4,000 right now. So if you're a Michael Harris guy,
our guy Grizz at Cards HQ, who watches this show all the time, picked up a Harris to 5.
Did he?
And he loves Harris. He's like a Harris. I don't know if I'd say super collector, kind of. He loves Harris. He's loves the Braves, and it's a good card. It's just such a good card.
The biggest risk factor for those buying Dynasty baseball now is comps 3 to 12 months ago are going to be lower than what you pay. And people are going to be looking at that. If you're trying to sell it quickly, people are going to be looking at that comp. If you're trying to sell it at a show, people are going to use that comp against you. So that's the risk area, obviously. Like any asset, Tesla right now is up 50% over last month. What's the risk factor? That it could go back down to those prices, right? It went up too fast and in too short of a time period. So don't go ahead and like start pumping the Dynasty market and buying Dynasty cards just because we were talking about them today. And I know you guys are too smart and you wouldn't do that anyways, but
I'm going to go buy like 6 right now.
This is the topic of the week. We'll be excited about something else tomorrow. So don't let our hype just get you excited, like Phil said. Okay. Any final thoughts? Or are we feeling good? All right.
To the next episode,
everybody. We'll see you in the next one.